Heartland chapter. Thank you for being here. We want to do a quick thank you to our WICT Heartland sponsors. We have our platinum sponsor, who is Cox, gold sponsor, Pro Labs and Add-on, and then silver sponsors, Multilink, Empower, and Top. And back to you, Nancy.
Okay. Well, we'd like to welcome our WICT Heartland members as well as any guests joining us today. Please visit our website at wictheartland.org for a full list of upcoming events. We have a lot of good stuff coming up, as well as any information on becoming a WICT member for any of our guests who are interested. We also encourage you to follow us on all of the social media platforms, Facebook and LinkedIn. You can just search WICT Heartland Chapter. If you need a refresher on all of the wonderful benefits that you receive with your membership, you can check out our WICT Heartland YouTube channel. There's videos on there that kind of walk through all of those benefits that you get. So I'm going to stop sharing right now so we can see everybody's beautiful faces for just a second here. All right. As you know, we invited our WIC members to bring guests to this event, and for our WICT Wednesday events, and an incentive for that, we do draw a name every Wednesday for a lucky winner. This winner will get a $50 gift card, and today's winner is Christy Carter. So congratulations, Christy, you are our WICT Wednesday winner for this week. Christy will reach out to you in the next couple of days to get details on how to get this out to you guys.
All right, congratulations, Christy. Today we have a great panel covering different backgrounds, career paths, and workplace generations. We're going to have a few minutes at the end for Q&A. Andy Bledsoe is going to be covering the chat box for all of your questions, so we would like at this moment, if everybody could turn off their video if you don't have it off already, except our panel. We want to make sure that we can see their wonderful faces the entire time. So speaking of our panel, let's go ahead and meet them. First off, we have Steve Richards. Steve is a director at Cox Media Sales Services. He's director of sales services. He began his career with Cox Communications in May of 1990 as a cable installer. He quickly found his passion in operations and went to work for the ad sales division as an ad sales engineer. Since then, he has relocated several times with the company and held various leadership roles, some of which include media traffic and technical operations management, sales support manager, operations analysis, senior sales services management and media, and now in his current role, he is the director of media sales services. Steve has a long trajectory of creating and developing strong teams with a high level of execution. Steve serves on several advisory boards for Cox Media corporate initiatives and is a member of the Pride and Thrive employee relations groups. In his free time, he enjoys spending time with his husband, Bobby, to whom he has been married for almost 4 years. They are active in the community and published a local magazine which highlighted and supported many charitable causes and historic organizations throughout the Oklahoma City Historic District. So they have one son and who is getting married in October, so they're hoping for grandchildren in the near future.
No more children.
No more children, grandchildren, sorry.
Just the grands.
Sorry, Steve.
Okay, well, I have the privilege of introducing this next panelist, Tonya McCleary. She has a bio that is amazing. So she's a wife and mother to 2 adult children. She's an author, a blogger, a 2-time award Edward R. Murrow Associated Press and Oklahoma Association of Broadcasters winner. Wow, that's a lot of achievements there. The first sentence. She's currently the executive producer of the only lifestyle show in the OKC Metro, and that's Living Oklahoma. Mrs. McCleary brings 3 decades of experience and has worked all over the U.S., including markets like Houston, Kansas City, Columbus, Ohio, Jacksonville, Florida, Louisville, and of course here in our very own Oklahoma City. This I love. Her motto is, don't think outside the box, rock the box to create content that changes lives. And I think we can all agree that falls in line with a lot of our WICT initiatives.
All right. And last on our panel, but certainly not least, we have Erin Estep. Erin is a sales associate with Cox Media. She has been with the company for 2 years. She began her journey with Cox as a marketing intern, and a year after that, she began her career when her internship came to an end. Erin finished her final semester of college while beginning her full-time job with Cox Media. She played college basketball for 2 years at Murray State and was an academic All-American there. In her free time, she enjoys spending time with her family, going to the lake, traveling, and watching TikTok. All right. So that brings us to our panel, and we can kick off our questions that we have prepared for our panel. The first question will be for Steve and for Tonya. Whoever would like to start to answer first, go ahead. As leaders in your organization, how do you cultivate inclusion within your team?
Tanya, would you like to go first? Or?
Thanks, Steve. I think there are two ways in which I have worked to create diversity inclusion. For me, I feel that when people hear the word diversity, they think solely of diversity of color, diversity of gender. When I see it as diverse voices, because a young African American woman will not have the same voice as I do as a married mother of 2 adult children. And so I look for, what do you bring to the table that is uniquely you, that moves us forward, that is a voice that is unheard? And so my team is small, and in every newsroom I've worked in every lifestyle situation, the ages have run the gamut from 18 to 60, from married to unmarried, from gay, lesbian to those who are differently abled. So I think the key is not to go after a quota, but to go out first. Who is best for the job, and what voices do you have? And then what voices are silent? And then I think that's how you create diversity. And we all evolved, and our diversity changes from what it was. Our voice changes from what it was at one point in our life to what it is at another. But I think they are, it's the gestalt, the sum of the many parts. You bring that together in the gestalt, the whole is what makes any organization the best that it can be to go from good to great.
Thank you, Tonya. You're spot on with the diverse voice viewpoint that you shared with us. So thank you. Steve?
Absolutely. It is about the diverse voices and experiences. And some of the ways that I look to really kind of to cultivate and bring that out is building those trusting relationships. That's so important. Being transparent with the business, with the needs, not just the business needs, but the personal needs, and understanding that, letting them know why decisions are made. Another way is that I use is to be personal and be vulnerable. I like to share stories. I like to, talk a little bit about my day, a little bit about my weekend. When I'm coaching, I'm fortunate in that I've been in the same industry for 30 years. So I have a lot of experiences to coach from, but I don't actually go in and say, I did this and this is how I was so successful. I actually like to tell them how I stubbed my toe or how I put my foot in my mouth to help them learn, say, make it a safe place, really share the ideas. Also valuing those different voices. each voice has a different experience. And when an issue comes up, it's very easy to have your own spin. You know, when you're a director, you're like, oh, I think this is how it needs to go. In my opinion, that's the wrong way to do it. I like to hold my ideas. I like to put the issue out in front of the entire team and then listen to them and give credit and really be ready to take action. Even if the solution is different from where I wanted to go with it, because after all, that is the point of diversity, is being able to enable that. And then finally, just being respectful of those differences. We're all individuals, and try to make it comfortable for others to share and make it a safe place. It's all about learning, learning each other, learning new things, and learning perspectives.
Okay, so enabling diversity with trust and valuing others on your teams. Thank you, Steve. All right, thank you. For Erin, we're going to take that question and kind of flip it around for you. So as a younger professional starting off your career, what can your leader do to make you feel a part of the team?
I think the biggest thing that kind of helped me with starting off was both of my leaders at Cox included me in everything and made me feel included with all their meetings. And when I first started off, I was just an intern. It was just a really small little job I had, but my manager at the time let me take control of programming and let me present in the meetings. And it really made me feel like, I mattered and I had a voice, and it helped me get familiar with my coworkers, and it also helped my coworkers be like, oh, that's the new girl, that's who she is. So I was very nervous going into the job because I'd never had any other job except for being a nanny. So being in a corporate world, it was terrifying, even with like me having a really big personality and I'm very outgoing. I was terrified. I was like, I'm not going to have anything in common. Like, it's going to be so hard. And so just always being included and really helping me to get comfortable with everybody and realizing like, oh, okay, I might be young, but I have Nancy and Sandra who talk about keeping up with the Kardashians with me and talk about Instagram with me. So then I was like, okay, so I kind of do fit in. So just always feeling like I was included and important, even though, I was kind of like the low man on the totem pole, but I really felt like I had a big place there. So right. I think the inclusion really helps me get out of my box in a corporate world.
Thank you, Erin. I'm glad we were able to. I think that, yes, taking ownership of something and make it in your own probably helps a lot along the way. Thank you.
All right, so we have a few questions that are specifically for each one of our panelists. I'm going to start off with Erin. So you're considered a Gen Zer based on your age. So having to work with so many different generations in the office, what do you feel is the biggest stereotype that you have to overcome?
I think laziness. Our generation has kind of got the stamp of we're very lazy and kind of want things handed to us, or that we need to be spoon-fed to be successful. And that's never really been me as a person in general. Just playing sports, I always had to work very hard. My dad and mom expected me to work hard in everything I did. So even throughout college, I had stupid Gen Z, y'all are lazy, y'all want everything handed to you. So it was really hard because it's like, no, we're very up to date with everything. And they all thought because we grew up with technology and had internet at the snap of a finger and could figure out anything or YouTube anything, that put us to a disadvantage, when in reality it puts us to a huge advantage, because I can work every single thing on the internet 12 times better than my manager at the moment. So as he's trying to show me something on PowerPoint, I've got it done, sent out, ready to go, and he's over here still trying to figure out the font. So I think just a lot of people think that we're not very self-sufficient, but in fact, we are very self-sufficient and can really teach ourselves how to do it, whether it's the correct way that an older generation would have gone about it, but we put our own spin on everything, and they might think it's lazy that we can Google something or find something on YouTube, but I think they're just maybe upset that they can't use the technology to our advantage. So I think the laziness has been a really, really huge thing that when people think of Gen Zs and even kind of millennials, because like I've established with professors and some people within like the workspace, is a lot of people thought I was a millennial, and I'm like, actually, I'm not a millennial. I'm actually a Gen Z. So they're like, oh, well, even worse. You're worse than a millennial. You're even more lazy than I thought. So that's the biggest one that's kind of always been over my head.
I think you bring up a really good point. I think sometimes people confuse efficiency with laziness, but really, you're doing the same amount of work. You're just doing it maybe in less amount of time as somebody else who's too worried about the fonts.
In a lot easier way.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Erin, so much for that. Okay, Tonya, I'm going to put you in the spotlight here. Okay, as a Black woman, how has the current racial tension in our country impacted your work life and your personal life?
I will tell you, it has made me professionally glad that I am not in the news realm anymore. I'm in lifestyle, so it is a sponsorship based. Nearly once a week, sometimes every other day, I have extraordinary journalists who reach out to me trying to find ways to cope with it, both um, of various ethnicities and races. And then you topple that, you add to that dealing with the pandemic and covering it. We always say we want to be fair and balanced, that we want to give as many sides of the issues as we can, but we are people and we work to be unbiased, but we take with us every day biases. We take with us every day. I always say my Blackness is given. When I was born, they told my parents it's a girl. They didn't say it's a Black girl. Or in that case, if I posed the question to most of my friends who are um, not Black, and I say, how many names have you had for your ethnicity or race? And most of them say, I'm white. And I say, well, when I was born, it said Negro. That didn't change until I was in maybe middle school and we became Black. Then we became African American, and now we're Black. I'm not even adding my parents' colored and everything else. So, does it affect me? Absolutely. Because I work with people in and out of the building. Not everybody is working from home. And if you felt a certain way about something before this happened, you still bring that to work. It has been difficult to see what's going on. I had someone to say, we're finally waking up to what's going on, while someone else said, well, it just seems like everybody is so sensitive. And to the person who said, we're waking up to it, I said, that's good. But I've had no choice. I've been woke my whole life. I had to tell my son, and my husband had to tell my son at 8 years old what you should do if you're stopped by a policeman. But at the same time, he was taking dare classes with police officers who were helping them. So it was a strange dichotomy. Who do we trust? Who don't we trust? But those are the things that, as a journalist, but as a mother and as a Black person in America, I have to deal with that every day. And it has been difficult. But I am a person who believes strongly that I lick my wounds today and I live to fight another day. The decision is, how do you fight that battle? In news, I always made sure I worked on Dr. King's birthday because I knew what it took to make that a holiday. And I used to always work. And said, why did you take off? And I said, because I would love for you all to see my Black face in the place calling the shots, because it came at the price of nearly half a millennia of people struggle. So it is very emotional to me. But here's the thing, I love the way Dr. Maya Angelou, the American poet laureate, said, you know, you do the best that you can until you know better. And then when you know better, you do better. And so now it's up to each of us. It's up to me every day to make sure I'm in check, to make sure that I am being fair, making sure that I'm not passing judgment on someone, and that I'm not painting every single person or group with the same brushstroke, because there are wonderful police officers out there and there are bad ones. There are, it doesn't matter what the ethnicity is, there is going to be crime, there is going to be things that happen, but I'm trying to make sure that I'm evolving. And so when I know better, I do better. But it has been difficult and it has been a challenge, but my life has been built on challenges. So I walk away from nothing, and I'm a person of faith. So that has always got me through.
Thank you. That I love your words. And yes, when we know better, we do better. And I think that conversations like these are, I hope, are helping that movement and helping people become woke, as you said, and helping us all do better.
And it's
Thank you.
not something to point out is that I tell friends of mine who grapple with white guilt, and I was privileged and didn't even know I was, that kind of thing. And the thing about it is, there's no reconciliation until there is acknowledgement and atonement. And when we come together and have these sometimes difficult conversations, there will be those who will listen and there will be those who do not. But the important thing is to have the discussion, because look where silence has gotten us. It is not golden.
Yes, you are so right. We have to have these types of discussions in order to be better. Thank you so much, Tonya. Very powerful. Um, okay, so I'm gonna switch it over to Steve and put the spotlight on you. You're pretty open about being a gay man. Has this always been the case? And was there ever a time you felt that you couldn't be your true self in the workplace or in life?
Sure. I came out pretty early. I was probably 18 or 19. And when I did that, there was a pretty severe backlash. So I quickly drew that back and became very selective about who I shared that information with. There was a backlash both in the personal life and in the work life. Over time, as you know, the public opinion changed and people evolved, I did open up more because I felt more confident and safer. Some of that comes with age as well, but the public opinion had definitely changed. But I still had to make a choice. My choice is to still balance kind of letting people know that I'm gay with we're really not very different in any other area of our lives. We face the same challenges. We, have the same, we have a lot of the same personal issues. We have a lot of things in common, but the struggles are there. I always tried, I still don't, I'm still not 100% my true self because I feel like it's important to temper the flamboyancy, I guess, if you want to say, in my role. There are times in my personal life where I let the flag fly and we're good. We're having fun. But I think that it's important to display the commonalities as well. Sometimes that's not great. I'm a little embarrassed about that sometimes because I know that I can bring a lot more and further more causes by being more vocal. So that is something that I am working on. But there are still times where I can't be myself. More so with family. I married into a family where close family members didn't come to our wedding because they didn't agree. We recently, as a matter of fact, we have an event in October that I had to decide that I would not attend because his family would be embarrassed if we showed up as a gay couple. So we are still having to make those hard decisions about family relationships. I am really thankful, though, to work for a company like Cox, where I really don't have to worry about my work life. I can be who I am. I can gently nudge the agenda. I don't want to say agenda because that's but gently kind of show people who I am and how we are without really having to be afraid of being fired. I have friends who got married, and as soon as they presented for benefits for their spouse, they were fired because there was no law against firing people for being gay. So I'm very thankful that I don't have to worry about that because the personal side is heartbreaking in itself.
Yeah. I love what you said about we still having the same problems, whether you're a gay married couple or a heterosexual married couple, somebody's still not putting the dishes away. So those battles are the same, doesn't matter. And for that matter, if you're a white person or a black person, there are some human commonalities there that we all have, and that's what we need to focus on. So thank you, Steve.
All right. Okay, so we will move on to the last planned question that we have for the panel, and then after this question, then the chat is open for Q&A. So drop your questions in there. So this question is for Erin, Steve, and Tonya. What is the one thing you can leave with us leave us with today? We've heard your different viewpoints. We've heard about your careers, your professional, your personal. Can you tell us what one improvement your organization can make in its diversity efforts?
So I'll start.
Thank you.
So yeah, so Cox has implemented so many things from creation of the focus groups, events, financial supporting, to really personal messages from our top leaders. And I'm really proud of their swift response and engagement of the employees. But I think that we need to be sharing these fantastic initiatives in our communities and looking for ways to not just tell our stories of who we are and how much we value diversity in our company, but also support and drive that diversity within our communities, be leaders in that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Steve. Tonya or Erin, do you have one last thing you'd like to leave us with in diversity efforts?
Tonya,
I think one of the things that when it comes to diversity, today we had a situation in which there were expectations that were not met. And I was very clear and emphatic that I was not happy with the situation. And I said to him, I'm very unhappy. And I had my millennials who had a look like, whatever. Then I had my Gen Zer who was devastated. And I said, here's my thing. We all make mistakes. We all have missteps. My concern are patterns. So I want you to shake it off because you start back tomorrow. It's a tabula rasa. That means a blank tablet. Only you can write on it. And I think we have to look at what we do as a company. I was so extraordinarily impressed and proud of Sinclair Broadcast Group because they did not lay anyone off. They did not furlough anyone off. Furlough anyone. Diversity has always been there. We don't look in terms of what is this person, who's their husband, it's just so common in our company that you just don't really even pay any attention. It's like, your husband said what? Your wife said what? So I love that because it has to get into the water, into the mainstream. But I like those policies that make it easier for people to want to stay there, because our companies change when those diverse voices stay. But if you're not the employer of choice, if you don't offer things that let people move up in a company, then you lose that valuable voice. Look at what Cox has done with him. Steve has been there 30 years because they created a community for him to want to stay. Imagine what happens if his voice leaves. Then the voice of a gay married male is not heard. But more importantly, his expertise is not there. So I think that's what we have to continue to do as we grow our companies as we grow ourselves. And as we evolve, Steve has said something today that he never said in the rehearsal. But he was so vulnerable to share that with us. That means he trusts us to be a keeper of his pain and share it and bear it with him. That's extraordinary. That can only come with time. It's like geology. A steady drop of water will wear a hole in a mountain. And that's how change comes. We have to be that steady drop of water.
Thank you, Tonya. Thank you for that. You summed it up so well. I love everything you just said. Thank you.
Me last.
Erin?
Erin?
Yes.
I think Cox does a really good job at being very diverse, whether it's ethnicity or gay, lesbian. I mean, they are very good at not looking at what the person looks like or what's their preference, but what can they offer to the table. I think something that I don't see as much is maybe the younger generation, because I know within my department, I'm the only person who around my age, and I know there's someone on, I think, just like the HR side, who she's around my age as well. But other than that, in our market at least, there aren't very many younger people, and I would like to see, them maybe Cox focus less on how many years of experience you've had within being in corporate world or in the job force, and more so looking at the younger generation and what they can really bring to the table. Because I think it is kind of terrifying, especially straight out of college, if I didn't already have the internship and I guess doing somewhat all right in that and getting a job, I would have been screwed, because a lot of times I have friends who are applying to jobs and it's 2 to 3 years of experience in this position or that, and they have no experience, whether it was just a little internship. So I think it's really hard for our generation to get into a place so amazing as Cox, because we don't have that experience, and it's kind of just like a lucky timing that I had, that I was in a place for an internship and got in and had the chance to be able to be a part of it. But I think my biggest thing was I'd like to see more Gen Zers around, because we have a lot more to offer than people think.
You do, Erin. Thank you. And we will keep in mind everything that you shared with us today from your viewpoint as we see them more and more in our companies. So thank you for sharing from your side.
Okay, Sandra, we do have a question. This question is directed at for Tonya. What can those of us who are suffering from white guilt, as you mentioned, do to show you and others our support?
That's a loaded question. I remembered a very well-meaning. If you ever saw the Malcolm X, a very well-meaning white college co-ed came up to him in the movie and said, "I want to make a difference. What can I do? What can I do?" And he said, "Nothing." And that takes us from a point of was less about her and more about empowering within. I've heard people say, "Why don't you go out and get to know someone of another ethnicity, get to know someone who's different from you. How many people have you gone out with from work? I don't think that's necessarily the answer. What I find is find the commonality in someone. Understand there is, if you get a chance, go to YouTube. There's an extraordinary little animation explanation of systemic racism, and understanding that you will have had to do nothing wrong. You were just born into a system that favored one over the other. What's your favorite crayon in the box? Mine is going to be red or a fuchsia pink. It's fine for me to love the fuchsia, love the red. But if I say the black step back or the brown don't stick around, that is racism. That is systemic racism, where every time something comes around, I am only looking at helping that pink Crayola, that red Crayola. And as people, as Steve said, we all have the core things. We want the health, wealth, and the safety of our family. Find what is common. I tell people, I know my hood. When I moved back to Oklahoma City after 15 years, when I lived elsewhere, I lived in the burbs. When I came home, I came back to Northeast Oklahoma City because that's my hood. Now, when I'm other places, I don't know your hood. So for me, I was in a gated community, multi-million-dollar homes. I felt more uncomfortable. Not that I hadn't had those homes myself over the years, but I asked one question and they looked at me like, well, what are you doing here? Like, who invited you? And I said, I'm just trying to get to the clubhouse. And they said, well, why are you here? And I said, I have a meeting. And they said, with whom? And I said, I just needed to know where the clubhouse is. And I just made the wrong turn. But it's that kind of thing. Be fearless instead of fearful. Be ferocious in trying to be better. Because one of my closest friends in the world who taught me much of what I know about journalism, my kids did not even know that she was white until they met her when they were maybe 8 years old, because she's just my friend. And I think that's something that has to be very organic. But be open. Be open. Because there is no sin in who you were born to be. The choices we make determine who we will be and what do we pass on. And for me, I would rather pass on love and inclusion and diversity and inspiration than to pass on hate or to make anyone feel less than, because we are only incredible when we're together and moving forward.
Thank you. Tonya, I think I could listen to you speak for hours.
I don't know about that.
You just bring so much wisdom. I mean, and you have a decade worth of experience in the professional place, and you just add so much of the personal touch to it. And one thing I do, Steve mentioned earlier about storytelling in your leadership, and I want to plug my WICT mentor, Paul. He actually said that to me during one of our mentor meetings, and he said, good leaders are good storytellers. And I think our panel today, you guys have told great stories, are great storytellers. So that definitely helps our event that you guys have been so amazing. So thank you so much to our panel for joining us today.
You are welcome. It's been my honor.
Thank you. Let's see. Do we have any other questions in the box?
We don't, but we also only have 3 minutes. So.
Oh, okay. Just realized that. Okay, well, I guess we'll just go ahead and close it out here since we just have a couple of minutes left. But thank you so much, everyone who joined us today. Thank you for taking your time and just hopping on this and listening to some great, great words, some great wisdom. Thank you to our wonderful panel again. I know we've been working with you leading up to this event via email. Thank you for your responses. Thank you for making it happen. But most importantly, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your personal experiences and your wisdom today. So again, thank you to our sponsors. And that is all that I have. Nancy or Andy, anything else we'd like to add?
I just want to plug all of our upcoming WICT events. Make sure you're checking out the emails. Again, if you want to see what wonderful events we have planned for the through the end of the year, you can go to wictheartland.org and check that out, or find us on all of the social media platforms as well.
Yes. And then Erin, Tonya, Steve, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. You're welcome.